This is the Goldilocks quilt, and I've called it that because it was a quilt that was requested by my husband. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Diane, and last summer when we went to the Festival of Quilts, my husband suddenly said he would like me to make a wall hanging for our home, and he chose some fabric to go in that wall hanging. Well, then he changed his mind and he said he didn't want a wall hanging, but what he would like would be a small lap quilt while he's sitting in his chair of an evening, just to go over his legs. And so I called it the Goldilocks quilt because he was quite specific with his requirements. It shouldn't be too dark, it shouldn't be too heavy, it shouldn't be too big. And so this is, let me have a look, 44 inches wide by 54 inches deep. And to be honest, since I've gifted it to him, he's used it every single evening. So it was just what he wanted. It's a simple Courthouse Steps block, and I'll show you that. But if you're not interested in such a simple design, which is brilliant if you've got 2.5 inch strips, that's what they were, and it's a real stash buster. But I've got a lovely quilt and that I've just finished the flimsy of, and I'll put a picture of that at the end. So it's a little bit more complicated than this one. Still simple, still a stash buster, 3 inch squares, and I'll show you that at the very end. But let's get back to this Courthouse Steps. So as you can see, it's quite a simple design. It's a repeated block, identical. The colours are the same, but the design in the colours have altered slightly. There are 16 blocks in total, and I just put some sashing to the left and right of each block. And to be honest, it was really relaxing just to do something as simple as chain piecing with identical blocks. And because it's such a simple design to do, I chain pieced. So I just took 2.5 inch strips as width of fabric, and I joined those together for the centerpiece. So orange around each side of the brown, and then I added the cream to the sides and just built up from there. Like I say, it's such a simple block, and he did come into my sewing room periodically to check on the design, so I had it up on the design wall, and I just really made the quilt that he wanted. And this is a simple finish of the block. Like I say, it's everything he wanted, the colours that he chose, and I just put sashing down the side, and I did put, you can just see here, a little red square between, so that row of sashing on each side of the block made the white a little bit wider, and I just wanted a little bit of red to join those together. So Ken had quite a hand in the design process of this quilt. I think they look a little bit like weights, don't they, dumbbells? And he has some of those in the garage, so I think that's sort of in the back of his mind. He tries to keep himself fit and healthy, but I don't know. That's what I can see, dumbbells. But I think I perhaps would have not put 2 of the red strands together. I'd have only put a single strand of the red together. And if you have a look at the design, there are, like I say, 16 blocks and they are identical, but on the design you can see I've offered a block B. And then I backed it in this beautiful swirly marble orange. And on the back, I think you can just make out the quilting. So I went from top to bottom, stitching in the ditch of each seam. And then I went press a foot to the left and right of that seam. So 3 rows of stitching top to bottom all the way across. And then I brought the backing round to the front, use that as the binding. So that's it for this week, short and simple. And next week, if you are a dog lover and you have some 3-inch squares that you might want to use, or some yardage that you might want to cut up into smaller pieces to get rid of all of your stash and in no by January, I have designed a beagle quilt, and I've called this one Bradley. So if you are interested in that quilt, please join me next week, and thank you very much for your company, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.